It's the Brigham Bros BYU Sports Podcast. All right, welcome one and all to this inaugural episode of Brigham Bros Sports. Your host, Dallen Smith, and who I am a big BYU fan. Obviously, a big Broncos fan, as you can see. It's a victory Monday after BYU winning the game against Washington Commanders last night, which everybody has opinion on, which I think is a whole bunch of stupid opinions. You ask me, but that's cool. That's cool. You are allowed to have your opinion, even if it's wrong. So, I've had a bit of a cough, so if I cough a little bit, I'll try to cut those out as much as possible. Unfortunately, when we go live, I'm not going to be able to do that. So that's the thing with that. I love BYU. I've loved BYU for a long time. It's really kind of amped up as I've made friends, as BYU's done well in basketball and in football, things like that. And everybody's going to call me a fair weather fan. No, I've loved BYU. I am just not the biggest college sports guy. Like, I have been more of a pro sports guy my entire life. That's why I chose to do the BYU podcast, because I do care about BYU. I don't care nearly as much. Like, if the Broncos do really bad, and that makes me more sad, you know. Although I get triggered more at, like, BYU basketball, and, like, I'm not, like, a big-time fan of, like, the Jazz or anything like that. But I love BYU. I'm starting this venture because I want to make my own, brand and digital media company. And it's like, guys, I know we could do this. I know from my heart of hearts we could do this. I've got people who could help me with this, and that's what I'm going to try to figure out how to do. And the future I see of this, venture is I'd love to get it out to pro sports. I'd even love to get a Brigham Bros Ute podcast or Ute something or other. Because I love media, I love making videos, I love, just working on things creatively. I am a creative person. Don't let anybody tell you differently. I know I am. And the thing that's nice is it's fan run, so it gives me a lot of freedom and things like that. I'm also psychotic. I mean, unfortunately, my friend and business partner who was going to be on here, I had a sore throat and it's very congested this morning. He's not even going to work. He texted me. So he's psychotic too. We went to the, I went to the Chubby's down in Orem to watch the BYU-Cincinnati game. And his wife literally called us both psychotic because we were checking the Colorado game as we were watching. And there were a ton of psychotic people at the game Saturday, because all I saw were people on their phones watching the Ohio State-Michigan game when BYU was playing UCF. I mean, UCF had no chance in that game. I mean, we'll talk about that a little bit, and that's cool. But, yeah, I am psychotic. And I don't take that as a detriment is what it is. No, I don't take that as like an insult. Like, that is a compliment to who I am, My wife hates it that I'm into a ton of sports. I'm sure a lot of people's wives are. But you know what? I know how to do a lot of things, and I love sports. So that's what we're going to do with this. And so, without further ado, we're going to talk about a couple things. And the first thing we're going to talk about today, I don't even have it written down because it came out so fast. So went to the BYU game. Unfortunately, going to the BYU game, I didn't have the internet for a few hours. Also, I just don't like being on my phone while I'm at a game. You know what I'm saying? So, watched BYU trounce UCF, score 41, 30 something straight points to their set. I think it was 31 to set. It was at 31 to 7 at one point. No, it was 41 to 7. Outscored after they went up 14-0. So that was fun. it doesn't it doesn't invite confidence for the Big 12 championship, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, so I get out, all of a sudden, get a few texts. My source is telling me that there's something going on, a little bit of smoke with Kalani Sitake, and the did he message me? No, he didn't. What was I gonna say? And I'll cut that part out. So yeah, so I get out of the game and I get a whole bunch of texts. My source is saying, "Oh, there's something going on with Kalani Sitake," and I hope that I can kind of like mitigate that and make you feel less stressed, because I've got a few thoughts on that. Is that Kalani Sitake has gotten offers like from a couple places, and one of them was Penn State, and there's like an app that you could bet on like everything. Like, I don't know what it starts with a K, so I don't know even gonna say anything, but it keeps like fluctuating between, like, it's gone down this morning that somebody else has taken the lead over the job, and Kalani Sitake has gone down. Because here's the thing, last night he met. I don't know if he's going to announce it today. I don't know what's going on, but just some notes from a source I had last night is that, let's see. Hottest topic of, he says hottest topic of the night. It's been the hottest topic of the weekend. Like, it's ruined people's weekends as a result. So, there's also an SEC school that could be throwing a huge bag at Kalani as well. But two Big Ten schools have Kalani near the top of their lists. But I think this is more of the situation of the Oregon situation that happened a few years ago, where he was even interviewed. And I think he was interviewed last night by Penn State. And he didn't leave. I think he's just like, hey, you got to take care of me. You got to take care of your guys. Let's take care of my guys. And then, we'll kind of go from there. That's what I feel is probably going to happen with this. My source is 70%. I'm about 80. Like, there's still a chance that it could be like, oh, yeah, well, Kalani is going to move on. And that would suck tremendously, because he's built this to be something that's insane. Because, we're going to talk about it. BYU's had 2 straight 11-win seasons. And a lot of people are saying, well, Jay Hill would be better as the coach, because they're saying Jay Hill would take over as the coach. And I don't see that happening. I see Jay Hill going somewhere else. So you're going to lose both people if you lose Kalani. So for me, I look at it and say, something you got to do. And I just have a message for Brian Santiago, and I don't care if it makes it so I can't get credentials or anything to BYU. You better pay him. We're not gonna stand for that. I understand what you're doing with basketball, and that's been awesome. But we don't want just basketball to do well. And this is the thing, my friends say, this is a football school. BYU is not just a football school. They are basketball and a football school. They're both. And they've been like that for a long time. So you need to fix that. You need to keep it the way it is. You can't just be like, okay, we're going to be a blue blood in basketball. We're not going to do anything with football. From my understanding, that's where the relationship with Kalani and Santiago has gone. There's not a lot of resources with NIL. He's not getting paid as much. I think he's only getting paid like half of some of the top 10 guys. You got a top 10 coach in your building. You got to keep him. You got to do it quick. So if this doesn't get taken care of by today or tomorrow, Wednesday's preview of the Big 12 championship is going to be a lot different than I have it right now. Because I'm not even going to talk about like I'm not going to preview it. We're going to preview it Wednesday. My hope is that, like, for right now, it's Tuesday, Thursday. I have a job interview today, so, we had to switch it up and do Monday, Wednesday. And hopefully, my business partner is, able to go today. One of my best friends, too. But yeah, I foresee it going as it was the last time. Like, this is a lot of, like, the Oregon situation to me. And like I said, they gave him the keys to the car, essentially. And he decided instead of going for the Lambo, he would stay with the Kia. You know what I'm saying? Which, because people are going to say, well, BYU, you're comparing him to a Kia, which is a worse car than a Lambo. It's like, I get that, but you're going to Oregon. I'm not saying Oregon is going to win national championships, but they're a lot closer than BYU is. They give a lot more resources to the football program there. Then their basketball program is a joke. Like, let's be honest here. I don't even think their team is top 25. Like, even close to top 25. But the football program is top 10 in the country. And I would say BYU is too. But they're at a different tier. Now, the BYU could prove me wrong this weekend if they can go out there and beat Texas Tech. And they're going to have a lot of help. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But you got to keep Kalani. Like, the bottom line, you've got to keep Kalani. You've got one of the best D coordinators in the country. You've got one of the best coaches in the country. You have to keep Kalani. Like, it's just something you got to do. And listen, I'm just telling you, Brian, if this crap tanks and you are wrong and you get rid of Kalani, you're not going to be there very long. I'm just telling you. Nobody wants to see the football program tank. We want to see it keep excelling. Listen, there are people like Ryder Lyons and Bear Bachmeyer and guys that are coming to play for Kalani that are taking a pay cut. AJ Nabonsa and those other guys and a couple other guys, from my understanding, are not. That's why Kevin Young gets like I get Kevin Young is like the NBA guy, right? So he's gonna get his guy ready for the NBA. Okay, he's gonna get guys ready for the NBA. Igor Demin is an example. He's doing pretty well, and he was pretty good last year for BYU. However, the money, the NIL resources, and things like that, it seems like Kevin Young has unlimited. So you've got to get it close to that point with Kalani. If he had a great team, imagine what Kalani could do. You know what I mean? If he had a roster, I'd say even like Oregon's, for example. I think BYU has already beaten Tech, undefeated. We're going in as the favorite to win the Big 12 Saturday. And I'm not saying this team isn't good. I think all three phases this team is really good this year. And we'll talk about that. But bottom line is you got to get something better for Kalani. You've got to try to do something better. Otherwise, you're not going to be there very long. Like, I'm sorry. Like, Tom Holmoe, say what you want about him. But even 2020, when people were like, there's not going to be any football, he took it upon himself to make a schedule, albeit it was a very cupcake schedule, but it was a schedule BYU could go play. He won AD of the year. Like, take that for what it's worth, but you're pretty damn good as an AD if you win AD of the year. Like, seriously. Went 11-1 that year and won the bowl game. It was a pretty good year. It's because he kept Kalani, and it's because he took action. You've got to do the same thing. I'm just saying, I hope everything works out, and I hope that maybe me and him someday could have a conversation. I doubt it just from things I've heard about Santiago. I'm not going to get into those things, and I don't have a personal vendetta against him. However, I'll be pissed off if you let him just go. Like, keep him, but fight to keep Kalani. And that's all I'm going to say about that. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is, and I think it's a stupid thing, and you're probably not going to like my opinion fully on this. So Hans Olsen got on and talked about it a little bit here on the radio in Utah, and I think his take was a little extreme. Just because, like, I don't find it as disgusting as everybody else does. Like, I grew up, I am LDS. I'm just going to preface I am. But I'm a convert. So I grew up hearing all kinds of words growing up. And, like, even something about the Lord upstairs freezing. My dad, I've only overheard my dad ever use that, right? So, I'll never use that. I might curse a little bit on here. Not a ton. I'd like to keep it as professional as possible. But Hans Olsen got on and says, disgusting, and if you got to be a big boy about it, say FBYU, which I do agree with that. But, so Cincinnati chanted the phrase FBYU. F-U-F posh or asterisk CKBYU. And there's a story about, like, somebody who was in the Michigan. Like, this is the thing you got to understand. Like, there was somebody also, like, part of the Michigan shooting, had shrapnel hit them, had bullets hit them, and they come to the Cincinnati game, and then that happens. Yeah, they didn't feel very welcome there. And I fully understand. And I feel really bad for them. I don't understand, like even at work, I remember there were times where my religion was mocked and HR didn't get involved in my job. Like, if this company ever took off and that happened, I don't care if you're Jewish or Catholic or Christian, we don't do that. You know what I mean? You will get in trouble for doing that if you come work for me. There's a big, I have a big problem with that. Because, yeah, the LDS Church is discriminated all the time. And it's actually low-key frustrating. Actually high-key frustrating. It's very frustrating. This has happened, and it might have happened more, but 3 occasions this year. Not in just a football team, not just a football schedule, but this happened after the Arizona game where there was kind of a questionable call at the end of the game, and it was Tony Padala. Now listen, I went to the BYU Baylor game last year that went to overtime. Shouldn't have went to overtime, but there were some bad calls down the stretch by Tony Padala's crew. Was I going after Baylor because Baylor's a Christian school? No, not at all. I was bad at Tony Padala. In fact, I remember, the business partner on here saying he was worse than Joe Biden, And I'm not going to get into politics, but that's pretty damn funny. So, but I'm just saying, so here's the thing. I understand where they're coming from. I get it. BYU, some little nobody school, really, BYU is not really well known. I mean, they're becoming a brand. This is the problem I have when people say, oh, BYU is a national brand. Yeah, we are, but people still don't care, and people still aren't going to acknowledge BYU. It's just not going to happen. You have to accept that until they do something. If they win a national championship or go to a Final Four in basketball this year, they're going to get respect. I think if they win the Big 12 championship this year, they're going to get respect in football. But I look at it and, Cincinnati hasn't done anything either. Everybody's oh, they made it to the college football playoff. Whoop-de-doo. You got your butt kicked when you got there. So you weren't there. And whoever the quarterback is, Desmond Ridder, is, garbage in the NFL now. So it's dude, I don't understand why. Like, I like why you have to say it towards LDS people. Because, like, I get it. BYU, it's an intense game. BYU is, like, not as good as you think, because that's probably what you think. And they're coming into your stadium and, like, pardon my French, but quite frankly, they're kicking your ass. So I get it. I've said stupid things that I don't mean in the past about players, about teams that I don't like because I know that they're not supposed to do that. As a Jazz fan, it's frustrating. As a Jazz fan, anytime the Jazz are close to, like, doing something awesome, nobody takes it from them. Because really the problem comes down to, is, like I said, it is discriminatory. It is, something that nobody wants to see, but yet, if we say something about, like, a different group of people, we're going to have their heads. Like, could you imagine, and this would never happen, by the way, if, there's a playoff game and BYU's hosting it and it's Notre Dame that comes in and they're like, F the Catholics. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not a race issue, like, at all. What it is it becomes an issue of, like, you're doing something rude to a group of people. And that's the problem I have with that, I think that's why it's disappointing, and also the fact that, we get an apology, and this apology, I have friends take the apology, put it into an AI detection program, and it comes back with 100%. So you give me an apology letter to ChatGPT, and you're pasting it in, and then you're putting it onto your apology demographic. Like, I'm with Hans. I don't accept the apology. There's other things I don't agree with that Hans said. Like, again, I don't think it's disgusting. It's just like at this point, like, am I surprised, really? And yeah, he's right. You could say F BYU or F the Cougars. But instead you decide, hey, I'm going to say F the Mormons, which is ridiculous. You know what I mean? I hate that people were defending it, too, because it's like, well, they're just drunk. Okay, if my dad got a DUI once when I was, like, a little kid. So, yeah, my dad just was accidentally driving when he was drunk. And people are going to say this different. Okay. You walk up to a person that's not your race and you say something even though you're drunk. Do you think that guy's going to care? No, he's going to kick your ass. So I'm just telling you, yeah, you young bucks out there, you Gen Zers that said that, be careful what you say. That's all I'm saying. And I'm not going to talk about that anymore. All right, we got a couple things, and actually a little, like, ripples a bit with the BYU championship that I heard. BYU made it to the Big 12 championship. They made it on Friday, so they played a game Saturday. Like, it was kind of like a warm-up, but it was like, hey, we're going to play this game really just kind of for funsies, because Arizona State lost to Arizona, resulting in BYU and a Texas Tech rematch in Arlington, Texas on Saturday. And BYU, it's insane to me how in 3 years BYU's here. BYU was like DOA in year one, 5-7. Past years have won double-digit games. And now they're in the championship. And I think this team has a chance to win it. Kirkland is playing. He's going to redshirt and then play next year. And then you've got... what else you got? You've got Moa, who's possibly coming back, and that would be huge. Because then you've got two running backs that could really do some damage. I don't know how true that is. I'll give you more info, maybe in a short or a video of some sort as I hear more about that. But I did hear last night that he could be playing. Kalani's culture is amazing, and again, that's something you gotta keep with. I don't think this does anything with recruiting or NIL. I think it stays the same, unless Santiago's like, okay, we'll give you more NIL, we'll do it. And the national media is not really reacting that well. It's BYU, Texas Tech. Now, the thing that I saw Saturday is two things. Because I watched a little bit of the Texas Tech game. Texas Tech really wasn't trying hard, but they were kind of trying hard. BYU wasn't trying hard at all. I just don't think UCF was very good. I also think West Virginia is not very good. The bottom tier of the conference is kind of crappy, in my opinion. Not really that good. So, but Wednesday, we'll get you ready for it. It's exciting. BYU has a chance to win their first conference championship since I think the early 2000s or mid 2000s, which is awesome. And then finally, we've got one more thing, which was Kennard Davis played in 2 games on Thursday and Friday. So on Thanksgiving and on the day after on Black Friday. After getting a DUI, he had a 2-game suspension. There was a car accident that happened. And I'll just say this, look. I don't think it's any of my business because I wasn't there to really have an opinion on this. I think I'm trying to put this lightly without saying I really don't care, because I really don't. I'll just say I don't care that he only got 2 games. I think that's fair. And I wasn't there. I know the coaching staff was there. So if he got 2 games, there's a reason why he got 2 games. And I think the kid, as if he was high or if he was drinking and was high, go get some help. If he was carrying marijuana, okay, and he's got his medical card, you can't do anything. If he was not high, he had a medical card, because weed is legal here in Utah now, you cannot do anything. And I think, for me, unfortunately, BYU shouldn't do anything either. I know the general authority is going to come out and be like, well, he had weed, so we're going to, which could be the case. In fact, that would probably be the most likely case. But for me, I think they did the right thing just by, 2 games, whatever. And then that's that with that. I think this is making a better culture for the basketball team. And we'll talk a little bit more on Wednesday as BYU takes on another team in the Delta Center. This is the first episode of the Brigham Bros Sports podcast, for the BYU podcast. And we will, hopefully I have better news Wednesday about the whole situation with Kalani and a few other things. But I will see you on Wednesday. Take care, everybody. And hopefully by then it'll be a live show. And I'll have my partner with me. So, see ya.